The Texas Department of Safety is seeing an uptick in human smuggling cases throughout the southern border. This is video from Laredo, Texas, shot just last week. 28 illegal immigrants were being smuggled inside this truck. Smuggling organizations are said to be profiting, bringing in $100 million per week on human smuggling alone. Joining me now from the Rio Grande Valley, where Maria reported from last April, Texas Department of Public Safety Lieutenant Christopher Olivares. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Just describe what you're seeing every day being on the job, trying to enforce the laws of this country and stop and help people who are being trafficked, help stopping the drug trafficking.
Right. Well, good morning, Dagan, and great to be with you. So, of course, what we're seeing right now, the start of this year, 2022, we're seeing an uptick in human smuggling because, of course, the criminal organizations are exploiting the current border crisis. And because of that, they're recruiting drivers. We're seeing recruitment of drivers through social media platforms. And the video you're showing right now, that particular driver was from Houston, Texas, and he was recruited through a social media platform to become a driver to smuggle illegal immigrants, because it's very profitable, not only for the driver, but also for the criminal organizations, because there's very low risk, very low prosecution in terms of when these individuals are caught, especially when we talk about young adults and juveniles that are apprehended. But we're seeing an uptick, a rise in these human smuggling cases, and they're using various different methods to smuggle these illegal immigrants into the country. And that's a perfect example of what we're seeing in Laredo, Texas, and throughout the southern border.
Lieutenant Olivares, wouldn't this be something, drivers being recruited on social media, wouldn't this be something that the feds, the federal government, at the direction of the White House, could easily track and stop?
Of course. I mean, you're right on point. And we saw this throughout 2021 when we saw the trend of human smuggling recruitment through social media platforms. We've shared multiple videos throughout the year with various different media outlets to show what's taking place, to show how these criminal organizations are exploiting this criminal activity using social media. And we're continuing to see that now in 2022. So you're right on point. Yes, they need to step in and take action. But again, when we talk about taking action, we know that in 2021, the federal government has failed to take any action on the current border crisis. They have turned their back on Americans and the entire country because they failed to safeguard what's taking place right now. And that's why we continue to see this rise in human smuggling, mass migration, the drugs that are pouring into the country, fentanyl. We saw a rise in fentanyl last year, and we're continuing to see that now going into 2022. So we anticipate 2022 is going to be by far more historic than what we saw in 2021 in terms of the numbers.
Fentanyl is the #1 killer now of young adults between the ages of 18 and mid-40s. And it's really poisonings. It's not just, they're not overdoses. It's drugs that are tainted with fentanyl. And the fentanyl is pouring directly over the southern border. And it's just astonishing that it seems like little to nothing is being done to stop it. Lieutenant Olivares, what are you seeing? Is there an effort by the federal government to stop the drug trafficking that is, these people are dropping dead because of the fentanyl coming in from Mexico?
Right. So, I mean, we saw tens of thousands of Americans that were killed by this lethal drug last year in 2021. We know for a fact that the drug trafficking organizations are manufacturing counterfeit pills, and of course, they're smuggling them into the country. And that's why we're seeing tens of thousands of Americans that are being killed by this lethal drug through the terms of, as far as we talk about counterfeit pills. But the federal government is not taking any action trying to put a stop to this lethal drug coming into the country. But I can tell you that it's fallen in the hands, the responsibility of local law enforcement, our state agencies, as well as our federal partners, our U.S. Border Patrol agents who are out there in the field trying to make an impact. But again, they are being held back to process the mass surge of legal immigrants that are coming across. So it's fallen on the responsibility of the state to take action. That's why the state of Texas, we've been taking action from the very beginning with this current border crisis. And that's why the Governor Greg Abbott, implemented Operation Lone Star. He has implemented stiffer penalties for the manufacturing of fentanyl, as well as stiffer penalties for human smuggling. But again, Dagan, we can talk about this, and we talked about this in 2021. The federal government is absent right now. They're not taking any action on this border crisis, and that's why we're seeing mass migration illegal immigrants coming in. We're seeing drugs pouring into the country. We're seeing weapons and currency that's going into Mexico to supply the cartels. And that's why now they feel emboldened, continuing to commit this criminal activity that's taking place along the southern border right now.
Before we go, briefly talk about, though, what Operation Lone Star has been able to do in terms of just drug seizures and trying to protect the people of Texas.
Right. So the primary focus of Operation Lone Star was to safeguard not only the state of Texas, but also the entire country, because we know that our men and women of Texas DPS are the first line defense at that river along the southern border. They are there to disrupt and deter any criminal activity from taking place, criminal gang members, cartel members, potential terrorists, drugs that are coming into the country, because we know for a fact that this element, these drugs are not staying in the state of Texas. They're affecting the entire country. And that's why it's very important for the American people to understand that this is not a Texas problem. This affects the entire country. These drugs, these illegal immigrants, these criminals are coming to a state near you. And that's why it's very important that we need to put more pressure on the federal government to take action.
They're coming to a state near you in part because these illegal migrants are being flown into cities or flown into states by this administration in the cover of night in many instances. So again, it doesn't turn into they don't want the photo op, if you will. And they don't want people to know that these illegal immigrants are being placed in certainly states up and down the East Coast, in part. Final word to you, Lieutenant Olivares.
Well, Dagen, we're going to continue to move forward with this operation. We're not going to rely on the federal government to take action. That's why Governor Abbott stepped in from the very beginning and deployed all these resources to the southern border. And as we see potential threats along the southern border, we can expand operations. We can address those threats. And that's what we're doing, because we have the responsibility to safeguard Texans, to safeguard the state of Texas, and most importantly, the entire country.
Lieutenant Christopher Olivares, thank you so much for your service, sir.
Appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Thank you.